My company does the work of a 10-person revenue team, but we're not 10 people. And no, we didn't hire better. We stopped thinking about work the way everybody else does. Alex Hormozi said it best in his recent video. Stop thinking in roles, start thinking in workflows. Most people probably heard that and ignored it. But for me, that resonated because that's what we do every day. And I know firsthand that it is working. We didn't buy an AI SDR. We didn't replace anybody with chatbots or whatever. We broke down every role into tasks and built workflows around the ones that don't need humans. And of course, we kept humans for human stuff, where it matters. But Alex Hormozi gave you the principle. He didn't give you the playbook. That's what this video is about. I'm going to show you how to take your revenue team's work, break it down into workflows, and rebuild it with AI agents. Not just theory, real systems, real workflows that I've built and that are working. And by the end of this video, you might see why the trends about the next billion company only needing a handful of people might be actually not that crazy. Here is what's happening right now. The AI agents are becoming real and companies want to use them. So they might look at their org chart and think, okay, what role do we replace with agents? But that's actually wrong. And we see it everywhere. From AI SDRs in the GTM industry, like Artisan or 11x, to paperclip in the OpenClaw bubble, promising to replace your entire company with a CEO, CTO, CMO, etc. And that actually sounds logical. You have an SDR, SDRs are expensive and paid to do boring and repetitive tasks, so you buy an AI SDR. But roles in organization were never designed for this. The organization chart has been designed to coordinate humans. Who reports to whom? Who makes which decision? Who is in charge? Who's responsible? That's communication structure for humans. So it makes sense with people, but it doesn't make sense for AI agents. Your AI agent doesn't need a manager or a title. It needs tasks, clear input, and clear output. Now let me clarify. I'm not saying that roles are not relevant anymore. They are for humans. You still need a VP of sales who will own the numbers. You still need someone who will judge output, feed context, and someone who would own responsibility for what's happening in your business. But roles are the wrong unit for AI. You don't want to clone roles, you want to break down tasks in those roles and get AI agents to handle them. So the real approach is actually way simpler and more relevant than thinking in roles. It's about the task that your people are doing, the real work when they have their hands on the keyboard and their eyes on the screen, and ask yourself for each one of those tasks, could an AI agent do that? That's it, that's the shift, and once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. So let me show you exactly what this looks like. Let's take a real example. A marketer. What does a marketer actually do in a week? They create content, they run campaigns, they manage the website, they analyze performance, they qualify inbound leads, they coordinate with sales for handoff, they write emails for nurturing sequences. They have a lot of missions inside their role. Now let's just pick one of those, one among many, lead qualification. When a lead comes in, what happens? We want to break it down to the most granular level and identify the tasks that must be done. So let's pick an example. Let's say someone downloaded your lead magnet. Congrats, you have an inbound lead. Now, what are the tasks? Number one, capture this lead. That's the form. You can go more or less heavy on this. Name, email, company, if you're greedy. This part, this is just tools, the way I need it. That's done. Task number two, you want to start enriching and qualifying this lead. Depending on the data you captured, you'll have to make some research to identify the person, the company, and start working with this. So as a subtask, you want to identify if it's a personal email or work email, because you want to respect the regulations. Once you know who's this person, then you want to gather information on their company and on themselves. So you will search on LinkedIn, you will search maybe on Crunchbase, if that makes sense, Google News, some Google search, whatever makes sense to find relevant information. So here in task 2, you can see that the marketer is actually searching for information, clicking buttons, probably spending time to get more information on those leads. This can definitely be automated with an AI agent instead of a human spending 5 minutes per lead and maybe end up with unqualified people. An AI agent can do it automatically, faster, better, and cheaper. Task number 3, once you have gathered this information, you want to score this lead against your ICP criteria. You want to make sure that it's not already a contact. Maybe it's an existing client, an existing customer, maybe it's a partner, maybe it's a competitor, etc. Then you want to look into the company size, the locations, all the demographics that might make sense for you and your business. Again, navigating tools, searching and comparing data, that's an agent task. Task number 4, routing the qualified leads to the right sales team member. Maybe the highest scores goes to an AE directly in the sales team. Maybe medium scores are going to be nurtured in an email sequence, and the lowest ones might be just ignored or deprioritized. Here, depending on the complexity, it's either a tool that can do that, simple conditional logic, or maybe an AI. Here, in that case, you have done the heavy lifting with the information previously, so it's probably a tool task with simple conditional logic. And then task number 5, for the high score leads, maybe you want personalized first email or LinkedIn message using the data that you've collected previously in the workflow and help your sales team or replace this task for your sales team and increase how fast you engage with your lead. Here, manipulating data, making sure that we respect the rules and some criteria that are customized to your business, also AI tasks. So here in this workflow, we've broken down into tasks and even subtasks and realized that most of it can be automated with sometimes just tools and sometimes AI. And now you have your humans entering the loop only when it's really important, like reviewing the draft and sending the message, for example. But it goes further than that. That was just one trigger, the lead magnet download. But what happens when someone engages with your profile on LinkedIn? That's a different trigger, but the workflow is similar. Identify who they are, enrich, score, route, engage, almost identical. Website visitors, again, same thing, similar workflow. Demo requests, even simpler. So now you might start seeing it. We are not replacing a role, we are building workflows that are used by people in the role. And those workflows compound and support your revenue team. In this story, you didn't replace the marketer. You automated one of their missions, and now that the lead qualification is 80 or 90% handled by AI and automation, your marketer can focus on being more creative, more strategic to feed those workflows. Now let's go back to the beginning of this story and imagine doing the same work for every mission they have. Content creation, campaign management, performance analysis, etc., etc. Each one gets broken down into tasks, and each task gets assigned to a tool, an agent, or a human. Not to mention that you need humans to actually conceptualize and prioritize those tasks and workflows. And that's how, for example, at TC9, we keep a very small team while doing the work of a 10-time bigger team. And of course, this is not just about lead qualification, that was just a simple example. But you can do this with any mission in your revenue team. Think about it. Pick one role in your organization, in your revenue team, and write down the missions and the tasks that this role is supposed to achieve in a week. And be specific, not handles outbound. That's not precise enough. It has to be the most granular task possible. Find prospect email, research company pricing, follow up on day 3, logs activity in the CRM, etc., etc. You get the point. And if you genuinely go through this process, you might be surprised. From our experience at TC9, we found that 60 to 70% at least of those tasks can be automated. B2B revenue teams are heavily working using data, and handling data is definitely AI agents' works now. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds like a lot of work to break down all those roles into missions and tasks. And you might even be thinking that's easy for you to say, you have a small team, so you don't have a lot to break down. And that's fair, especially if you're running a business already and that you feel that sitting down and doing this list of tasks would be a waste of time for you instead of doing the real work instead. But I will challenge that and say that it is actually today the most important thing you can do for your business. Here is why. Alex Hormozi made another point in his video that I think is critical. He said something like, this shift is incredibly heavy for legacy businesses. They have existing teams, existing structures, existing habits. And getting a 50-person organization to rethink how they work is a massive challenge. But these legacy companies are competing against new ones that are born AI-driven. And these new companies have a huge advantage, in my opinion. And I won't be surprised to see 5-person companies outperforming 50-person companies in the near future. Not really by working harder, but by structuring the work differently from the start. And this is not theory. At TC9, I can see it firsthand. We are today making the work of 10 people with less than 3 people, and I can directly compare from my previous experience in bigger organizations where much less work was achieved with similar missions. And I'm convinced that you can feel it already. AI-driven is not the future. It's becoming the new norm right now. So companies that are investing this time right now, even if it feels slow short term, are the companies that are going to win and reach the next level. So let's wrap this up. Remember what I said in the start? The future of revenue teams in B2B companies will look like humans piloting workflows that include tools, automation, AI agents, instead of doing the boring task themselves. This didn't exist 5 years ago. It didn't even exist at this scale 6 months ago, thanks to tools like Cloud Code or stuff like that. And it's going to be faster and faster in that direction. So now you can see, like me, how a team of maybe 10 people or maybe 5 people will create quite soon millions, if not billions, worth companies. So again, stop thinking in roles, start thinking in workflows. That's definitely the shift you need to do for the coming months and years. Hormozi gave you the principle, now you have the playbook. On this channel, I'll speak about GTM, from trends to actual workflows in details, so subscribe so you don't miss them. And of course, feel free to share your thoughts and reactions in the comments. I will read them all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.